Hey everyone, welcome back to the Peak Human Labs podcast. I'm here with Dr. Sanjeev, and today I'm really excited to be talking about...
Because you're the patient today.
Yeah, I'm the patient today. High blood pressure. Yes. What is it? Why does it matter? Sure. And why do I have high blood pressure, first of all? So thank you for
no problem.
Assessing me right now.
I thought this is, if you're having this issue, this is such a common problem, and I think most people aren't really aware of it. And today we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into hypertension, or high blood pressure as commonly called. So let's just talk about what is high blood pressure.
Yes.
So normally when you go to your doctor, they give you two numbers. So it's called the systolic high blood pressure, which is the top number, which is the higher number.
Right.
And the diastolic blood pressure. And so systolic is when your heart beats, it's when the blood pumps out of your heart, it's the higher number, it's the higher pressure.
Okay.
And then when your heart relaxes, the pressure drops a bit, and that's the low.
And that's the low number. Okay.
And so we want these numbers to be generally lower. The lower the better usually, unless you're like super low, then you can be lightheaded or so. But generally the problem is people's blood pressure is too high.
So what I heard is that normal, like I don't know what normal is, but a normal heart blood pressure is 120/80. Is that considered normal, or is there a variant of that?
There's definitely a variance. Like, you could be, a young person who's, 110/60, and that's completely normal. So generally what I'm saying is that usually people who are younger and healthier have lower blood pressures, and 120/80 just will be considered kind of like in normal language as normal blood pressure, but you could be normal and feel great as well. But as you get over 130, then we start to think, hey, that's blood pressure that's maybe a bit too much. And when we're anxious or running or excited or doing exercise, everyone's blood pressure jumps up, and that's normal. The problem is when it's up all the time.
So I will, because this is motivated by my own blood pressure, the last time that I checked, which was several months ago, the nurse looked at me and she said, "Are you nervous, anxious?" I'm like, "No, why?"
Do you have what we call white coat hypertension, is where people's blood pressure just jumps up because they're
going to the doctor. The white coat.
The white coat.
No, I actually relaxed, but in this case, I was 155/105.
Right.
And I have had as high as 165/105, and I have been testing regularly. And I know that that's hypertension.
Exactly.
So what is my body doing right now? And, what's going on?
Yeah, so when your blood pressure is up, it's telling us that there's more pressure in the pipes. So think about the blood is going through your body in these pipes called the arterial system, and then coming back to the heart through the venous system. And if the pressure is always high, what ends up happening is that, just imagine that there's the walls of the artery are stiffer.
Okay.
And it eventually causes the change in the walls of the artery, because they have to kind of live with the high pressure that's going through it, and also the heart has to work harder. So imagine if you're trying to push a very high pressure, your heart has to pump harder. And eventually the heart will get tired, or it'll start to have to change to accommodate that. So that's why high blood pressure is not a good thing. It also is linked to strokes. So if you have a plaque in your artery, which is the carotid artery here, and more pressure is coming, it can push that plaque into your brain and cause a stroke. It can also cause a bleed in your brain as well.
The thing is, I wasn't even aware, and I know that you had said high blood pressure can be the silent killer. Mm-hmm. Like, as my doctor,
silent,
and I didn't notice. However, I have felt like actual anxiety, and I have felt like my heart actually beating really, really fast. Mm-hmm. Just like while I'm resting. So what's going on? Why is that? What factors could be at play with my high blood pressure?
Well, there's a number of different causes for high blood pressure. Just generally, most people's blood pressure increases as they get older. So just age is one of those things.
That's definitely the case here. So I'm older.
You're relatively still young, but of course that's one of the factors. The next thing is that increased weight. Any type of heart disease. So as you get older, generally, or people have heart disease, these pipes get stiffer, And think about it. If normally as blood's pouring through a pipe, your pipe expands to accommodate. But if they get stiff, like hard, then the pressure just goes up quickly. So as we're getting older and people have heart disease and cardiovascular disease, the pipes are getting stiffer. If you have more weight and you have to pump to more amount of blood throughout your body, that's going to cause higher blood pressure. And we also think that too much salt intake could be contributing to...
What is it about salt that contributes to that?
Well, just think, salt is basically adds more volume. We think that it may have some other impacts as well on the cellular level, but it is linked to higher blood pressure.
So you recommended or suggested, because now it's been prolonged, it hasn't gone down to an even normal level. So what are the medications that treat high blood pressure? And because it's definitely high. What does it mean by stage 2 hypertension? What does that mean?
Well, these are just different stages. Some are like how severe is it? And whether, and we also, there's primary hypertension versus secondary hypertension. Means that primary hypertension means that you just got high blood pressure because of the vessels are becoming stiffer and so on and so forth. But secondary is like caused by another problem.
Okay.
So that's a treatable problem. Let's say if you have a kidney issue, which is kind of making your blood pressure rise, that's called secondary. But most people's blood pressure is caused by primary hypertension.
What about stress?
Stress is definitely a cause. That's
why is that?
Well, because it releases hormones to
cortisol
and epinephrine. That you see when your heart's jumping and going faster, that's causing more and more blood to push through the system because your heart is beating faster.
So the funny thing is, it seems contradictory, but I know that exercise is supposed to help with high blood pressure, but then it's putting pressure on your heart. So
yeah, so some stress is good.
Okay.
So what, your body adapts to stress. That's why exercise is good.
Okay.
So in the short term, when we're doing exercise, your blood pressure goes up.
Right.
But it needs to have a break. And so what they show is that after doing exercise, your blood pressure actually drops.
Okay.
For about 2 days potentially. Your blood pressure will drop, your heart feels more relaxed, everything improves. So it's a good stress. But if you're having chronic stress, chronic release of hormones, that then that's going to cause like chronic changes to the system, and then it won't come back to relaxation. So it's really important to take those deep breaths, like everyone out there who's having, if you're having an anxiety, even hearing this talk, it's important to take a deep breath and breathe in through the tummy, so your tummy expands and then your chest expands. So that's called box breathing. So first.
So breath work is important.
Really important, and that's going to your heart rate will slow down.
Meditation.
These are all proven ways to reduce your blood pressure. So So let's talk about some of the things we could do before medication, because I know we want to talk about medication.
Okay.
So one is reducing stress. So meditation, focusing on your breathing. That's number one. Number two, salt.
So diet.
So let's do salt specifically. In Canada, people's average salt intake is over 3 grams a day. So what the recommendation is try to bring that down to 1.5 grams a day of salt. So that means not, even if you add salt to your food, that's not where most of the salt's coming from. Most people's salt is coming from processed foods.
Yeah.
So if you're just making food at home, and even if you have to add salt, it's better to add salt for taste rather than adding a salt before into the cooking.
Right. Because there's already a lot of sodium, so I would be checking for sodium levels.
Read the labels.
Read the labels.
Now that you're starting to have this idea, we want to get down to 1.5 grams, which is 1,500 milligrams every day. Start reading the labels, see how much sodium you're having.
Yep.
And start getting the habit of reading those labels. Second thing is increasing potassium.
Okay.
Increasing magnesium. These are other minerals, and that they're important for blood pressure. So. That's one thing. Second thing is there's something called the DASH diet. That's dietary approaches to reducing hypertension.
Okay.
It's a diet that's here. Let me just pull that up exactly. I want to just talk to you. What is exactly it's in the DASH diet? It's rich in potassium, calcium, magnesium, fiber, and protein.
The DASH diet.
Low in saturated fat, low in salt. So it's basically grains 6 to 8 servings a day, vegetable 4 to 5 servings a day, fruits 4 to 5 servings a day, eating low fat, lean meats, poultry and fish.
Well, that doesn't sound like anything that I'm doing.
Nuts, seeds, and dry beans, and then obviously less sweets and less added sugars.
Okay.
So avoiding alcohol. We didn't talk about alcohol, but alcohol does increase blood pressure.
Okay.
And caffeine increases blood pressure as well. So one needs to, that definitely should be reduced. So there's a multitude of things that one could do.
So it sounds
before
like
one hits medication.
Lifestyle, and my lifestyle right now is not helping my blood pressure.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm normally pretty healthy, but I would say that most recently, a little bit more entertaining than normal, a little more caffeine than normal.
Right,
so those are all things.
And so let's talk about meds, because I think we could talk about different categories of medications, but I know you had kind of brought up this concern that, hey, once I get on medication, I don't want to go on medication because once I go on medication, I'm never going to come off.
Right.
So I want to specifically talk about that, and I know a lot of my patients do mention
They feel the
that.
same way?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think the reason is because it's like when you can't expect to come off medication if nothing else has changed in your life.
Right.
Like, it's people expecting, hey, of course they're gonna still need the blood pressure medication because they haven't done anything else different to be able to come off the thing, because it's not a cure.
Right.
The medication is not curing your blood pressure, it's just controlling it at that particular moment while you take the medication.
Right.
But if you stop taking the medication and you haven't made changes in your weight, your lifestyle, alcohol, caffeine, diet, salt, then your blood pressure is going to come right back up.
Right.
And there's just a normal aging, and our bodies are just, constantly changing. And
so it's a lifestyle thing.
yeah, so I'm saying one should not feel that I'm going to hold off on medication because I'm going to make all these changes, and then because I don't want to ever be on medication because I'll never get off it. You can start on medication, make the lifestyle changes. If you're successful with your lifestyle changes, you will need less blood pressure medication.
Okay.
And eventually you can come off it too, depending on how successful you are. Let's say you said, oh, you know what, you lose 5 pounds of fat, you cut down on all those things, you do exercise, your blood pressure will come down into normal, really low, and then we'll just cut the medication because it's too low.
Yeah,
you don't want to make your blood pressure too low either. So
because that's also not getting enough blood at all pumping, right?
Exactly,
There's too much overdrive and then none.
Too much medication, you can get lightheaded, you can feel faint, not feel fatigued. So there are reasons for not taking too much blood pressure pills.
Sure. Okay.
But let's just talk about the different classes of blood pressure pills. And one other thing is a supplement that I recommend to all my patients called nitric oxide, and I'll put a little link in notes of where they can go purchase nitric oxide, which is nitric oxide is important for dilation of your blood vessels.
Okay.
So most people don't eat enough nitrates in their food, which comes from vegetables. And you can get these as supplements, so I think it's a worthwhile supplement that decreases blood pressure. So the categories of blood pressure are blood pressure medications are first medications that slow down your heart.
Okay.
Because if you slow down your heart, then there's less pumping happening.
Yeah.
Okay. So then there's a class of medication that basically relaxes your blood vessels.
Okay.
So those are the two main ways that blood pressure.
One is relaxing the heart, and the other one is relaxing the blood vessels.
So that they expand.
Yeah. So this increasing the elasticity, like the stiffness.
Yeah.
And is sometimes that stiffness caused actually by when they say clogged arteries, or is that something completely separate?
Yeah, it's kind of separate, because to cause blood pressure problems, it's not your whole body does not all clogged.
Okay.
Right, but sure. There are causes of secondary hypertension where there's a blockage in your kidney, in the kidney artery, and because the kidney artery is thinking that there's not enough blood coming, it sends a signal to the body to increase blood pressure.
Okay.
So that's one of the causes that's reversible, where they treat that particular blockage in the renal artery, and to treat the blood pressure. But that's a very specific, relatively uncommon cause of blood pressure. It could be. We need to check that. There are blood tests to look for that cause, but I suspect in your case with your family history that you likely have,
Well, we didn't even talk about that. there are some things that are in your genetics. My dad had high blood pressure.
Yeah.
My brothers have it. We all have it.
Yeah, so it's not like you...
Thanks to my genes. That being said, is there anything further? I'm going to bite the bullet, and I trust you fully. I think that it's time that I consider the medication, or not even consider, take it. And then let's have this discussion again in a couple weeks and see discussion and like if I actually am a good patient and a good student.
And we should do maybe even we could take people through a little 5-minute meditation at some point on
I'd love that.
Different one. We'll do that. And
we'll test my blood pressure live.
And I think we should let everyone know that, you know, if they're suffering from blood pressure or have concerns about this, make sure you speak to your doctor. You know, of course, we're here to give you great advice, but nothing beats having someone looks at your case specifically.
Yes.
And so that's really important. And this is a work of passion here that we're trying to give this information to you. And we love your support. If you think this is great information, you know, please sign up for our membership. That's a great way of supporting us. And with that way, we can make more videos that provide more information. So
that being said, thank you so much for following along each and every week. Subscribe to our channel.
Yes.
And share this. And we certainly want to hear your comments. And if you have questions, we're really here to provide the information that you're most interested in. Today was all about me and my results as a patient because I'm concerned about high blood pressure. But we'll be posting that link. And to also contribute and support, you can go to peakhuman.ca and be part of our rewards program.
Yes.
It's $9.99. Inside there'll be even additional exclusive content that's not available on our public site.
And there's like, I think you got discounts off all the supplements that are on the site and all types of great stuff. Plus you're supporting us, which is what we really appreciate. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye.